Hello and welcome to another episode of Top3Tech. I'm your host, Jerry Reese. Today, we have a special card. And I don't know, is it the good kind of special or the slower kind of special? Because it is the Asus Geforce RTX 4070 Dual. I never got to test one of these in the previous gens, so I'm actually happy I got to get my hands on one. I like the previous design, and looking at this, the new design looks amazing. But there's controversy with the 4070 because people are saying that is the card worth the price? And we're going to find that out today. I wanted to test it out firsthand before I could comment on it. I have commented on it, but at least now I'll be able to have a little more proof and more background when I talk about it, so I'm not just putting it down. But we'll see how it compares to other cards in the same price range, and also how it compares to the previous generation of this card. And also I have a bunch of GPUs on the graph anyways, so we can see where it stacks up on there. But let's get started to these benchmarks and unboxing. You guys know what time it is. Time to unbox this thing. I'm excited. I've never seen the contents of one of these. Not of the dual card. Oh no. I'm not excited no more. Terrible. Oh well, that's what happens when you... Oh my god, why is this... I previously cut the seal, so this stuff doesn't happen, but hey. That's what happens when you... Jeez, this box is like mangled. I don't know if you guys saw on the close-up. I'll show you right now. They packed this in there tight. In the close-up, I don't know what happened. Like they took a bite out of the box, and like it's dented right here. So that's why they pack these things pretty tight. I mean, you could see the Asus. The box looks very nice. But, geez, this took a beating to get to me. And look at that. All that, and that's what's inside. So, very nice presentation. One thing I love about Asus. Alright, that stays there, it feels like. Or does this whole box come out? Oh. This is unpacking steps, packing steps. Maybe this is supposed to come out first. Oh wow, check that out. They have that wrapped in here pretty nice and neat. Like I said, Asus presentation is amazing. Check out what's inside. So, we have this GPU holder. That way you can show off your GPU. It says thank you for purchasing the Asus graphics card or phone holder. Let's see what else is in here. The quick start guide. The trading card. And then the warranty. So, not too bad. This is definitely interesting. How do I take this out of here? Unpacking steps. Even has steps on how to unpack this thing. You fold the sides up. You flatten it down. You fold the sides up, flatten it down, pull it out, and pop that card out. Okay, let me get this out of here, and we'll do a close-up of the GPU. Jeez. This card does have a dual fan design that measures in 267 millimeters in length. It has a clear plastic top with dual on the left and designs on the bottom on the plastic that says dual and other designs. The back plate of this GPU does contain aluminum materials. It does have a heat vent to the right, and it is designed with paint, no RGB, but I like the designs. It looks classy and not overdone. We have the Geforce RTX painted in white, the clear plastic on the bottom of this card, the plastic shroud and aluminum shroud are there as well. And we have an 8-pin socket and Asus painted in white on the bottom right as well. This GPU does feature a stainless steel bracket with one HDMI 2.1 and 3 DisplayPort 1.4s. So this is where we get to the most controversial part of the video. My opinion on how GPUs look. People get mad. People say that I hate non-RGB cards. But that's not true. I actually love the design of this card. I think it's perfect. I just don't like people got mad that I hated the Merc, the 7900 XT and the XTX because it looked generic and plain. This Asus Dual. I could tell that this is a dual card, not only because it says dual, but it has characteristics. But it has some plastic. This is plastic. That's not all bad. I mean, look at this Acer Predator Bifrost Intel Arc A770 OC. It's all metal. I like that. It's got this fan in the middle. It has RGB. This is RGB as well. That looks nice. This is a $350 to $400 card depending where you buy it from. And that's about half the price of this. But I believe they saved money on making this plastic, so it could be cheaper. And then I think the Tough is all metal. The 4071 probably is all metal still. But this has a dual fan. Technically, this is like a blower fan, but it has this middle one to help out. It also has a vapor chamber. We got this 6800. It's the Sapphire Pulse, the non-XT. This is all plastic as well. It does have this little design in the front, the Pulse. You can tell it's a Pulse, non-RGB. I like it. I just like cards that have features that stand out. You are spending a lot of money on these cards. This is under $500, I believe. 6800. So that's going to be interesting to compare to this. This is a Sapphire Nitro Plus 6800 XT. This current card I can't find under $560, but the 6800 XTs are under $560. So you could find a bunch of those. But we'll be comparing it to this as well because $560 is cheaper than the $600. So that'd be interesting to see. These fans do light up. This is my main card. It does have this dual trim here, the Sapphire fans. And then of course we have EVGA for the Win 3 Ultra. It's a 3070 Ti. So technically it's the last generation of this card. So we'll be comparing it as well. These cards are expensive still. I think they're more than the 4070s. So I'm definitely going to be looking at that. 3-fan design. It has EVGA all in the fans. Nice little touch. EVGA there. LED bar here. This does not light up. But look at the size difference between these as well. It's about a little bit bigger than the Acer, the A770. A lot smaller than the 6800. Sorry, look at that. Smaller than the 6800 XT. And then shorter than the 3070 Ti. So, and it's about as thick, and now it's a little skinnier than the 3070 Ti as well. So that's definitely interesting to see there. Let's turn these around. So again, I have no issue with non-RGB cards. I just want them to have personality. So some people don't like that this says Predator all over the back. I can agree, it looks a little different. But this card was all metal backplate, 16-pin. This lights up into Arc A770 Predator. This is my card I use for streaming. It has the AV1 encoder. The Sapphire Pulse 6800. Look, it has this pulse on there. Non-RGB heat vent as well. Metal backplate. Sapphire there. 16-pin as well. BIOS switch. So this is nice. You can tell it's a Pulse because the aesthetic. The Sapphire Nitro Plus. The Nitro logo. The Fox. RGB heat vent. All silver. That lights up. 16-pin. It's a Sapphire. So like I said, this has RGB on it, but if you don't like that, I understand. You could always turn it off. We got the 3070 Ti. Here's the heat vent blended into the backplate metal. It's part of the design. EVGA. I think that's pretty cool. The red line always tripped me out because it's an NVIDIA card. 16-pin socket. BIOS switch as well. That EVGA does light up for the Win 3 right there. So it's a little different. Metal backplate. Is this metal? Yeah, metal backplate. Just double checking. So These all have metal back plates. I think they did plastic in the front to save some money. It is 8-pin. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see the difference between that card and the rest of these, because technically it should be underpowered and it should not perform as well, but this is a next gen. So let's go ahead and see how it looks like in the PC so we can go ahead and start doing the benchmarks. We will be putting this card inside of the Lee Lanquil 2. It's a pretty big case, a decent sized case, but it's not the biggest, but this will definitely fit inside. Let's go ahead and put it in there and see how it looks. We turned on the PC. Let's see if we can look at it from a little distance. Jeez, not too shabby. So that's how she looks. As you can see, no RGB. Also, 2.5 slot card. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to the benchmarks. Enough of the physical review. Before we head on to the benchmarks, let me go ahead and introduce the Top3Tech PC specs. We have an Asus X570 Tough Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. We have a Ryzen 7 5800X CPU. We have 32GB of Corsair Vengeance 3200 MHz RAM. And of course, today we're going to be testing the Asus Geforce RTX 4070 Dual, the non-overclock edition. It has a reported 2505 MHz boost clock, 2475 MHz game clock, but when I was testing it out, I did get spikes of 2835 MHz. The highest I did hit was 2850 MHz on Cyberpunk, and I did average about 2805 on most of the games that I did play. So do with that what you will, but these are the reported official clocks. And we got 12GB of GDDR6X memory. It is on the Lovelace architecture, and they do recommend a minimum 650 watt PSU. So this is good for everyone because a lot of people probably have a 650 watt PSU or higher, so you don't got to go and buy more parts. So this card is not too bad. Well, we'll talk about price later, but it is equivalent to a 3080 pretty much. Sometimes it performs slightly better, sometimes it performs on par, and sometimes it performs slightly worse, just depending on the game. And it is a 4K 60 frame per second card, 4K 70 frame per second, depending on the game, ultra settings, so not too bad, very enjoyable experience. And at 1440p, it's 110 to 120 frames per second at ultra settings as well. The more demanding games, it is 100 to 110. Less demanding games, it can be 120 to 140 frames per second. So it can work for multiple monitors. It's not too bad of a card when you consider that. And then also, it does have DLSS 3. And when that is paired with frame generation, you do get pretty high results. All the results that you see with DLSS 3 on use frame generation, or I have that turned on as well. So you can see the boost there, but there is some input lag, so that's noticeable as well. So you might have to take that into consideration. The image quality isn't too bad set that way, so if you do want more frames on demanding games like Cyberpunk, you can go ahead and turn that on. NVIDIA is known for their ray tracing. A lot of people think ray tracing is RTX, but RTX is ray tracing. I know that's a little confusing. But this card does pretty well at ray tracing anyways. Cyberpunk is a super demanding game, and it's also cracked out on its ray tracing settings. So when I put that on Psycho, it didn't have the best results, but none of the GPUs perform really well with it anyways. And you could always turn on the DLSS to help that out. But in the other games where the ray tracing isn't fully developed in it, or it's just like the shadows, or just some of the lighting, it's not too bad. It does exceed pretty well. So this is a very good card for ray tracing, and it's pretty impressive the performance of this card in ray tracing and non-ray tracing, because it doesn't consume too much power. At most, it's consuming 190 to 200 watts. Not too bad at all. And you can underclock or undervolt your other cards to perform at that range as well. And you might get similar results too. But either way, out of the box, not too bad. And it's a non-overclock, so if you have the overclock one, you probably get like a 1% increase in performance. So as I wrap up this video, I do want to touch upon a couple more things. I do like that it does have the 0 decibel mode. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking about that. It has a custom fan curve where the fans are pretty much quiet to a certain degree, and then after that they'll ramp up. Or you could set your own fan curve with MSI Afterburner and just not worry about it. I like to turn my fans all the way up, not all the way, but like to 70, 75, and just keep my GPU cool. It's cheaper to replace fans than to replace GPU. It also has an AV1 encoder, which lets you upload, let's just say like 4K videos, higher quality videos to stream on either YouTube or Twitch with using less bitrate. So you use less internet, which is awesome because you get less lag, and that's a feature I like. It's available on OBS or other programs as well, so that way it can sync up pretty smoothly onto YouTube and Twitch. But I do like the design of this card, even though it has no RGB, which is something I like, but it's a non-RGB card and it looks nice, so that's great. And the great thing about it is its size. It does take up 2.5 slots, which sucks for some micro ATX users because they do need 2 slot cards. But it's not super long, so it should fit in many cases. And it doesn't consume too much power, so you only need a 650 watt PSU, which is not too bad. And of course, you can't have the good without the bad. One thing I do not like about it is there's no DisplayPort 2.1. I mean, you might as well have it on there. It's a newer feature, and we're going into the future, so it's better to future-proof yourself. And I don't like that it only has 12 gigabytes of VRAM. It is a 4070, so people will be like, oh, that's fine. The 3080 only had 12 gigabytes or less, actually 10 gigabytes. And that's not okay. You can get AMD cards with 16 gigabytes of RAM for the same price. And games are becoming more demanding, and we have seen that games really need VRAM. So that's something I would like as well. I touched upon the no RGB, which is that's hit or miss for some people. Some people like it, some don't. But at the price it was compared to the other 4070s, it's not too bad. But since we are talking about price, this is where it's very this is where people get divided. So this card is $600, the non-overclocked edition. They do have more expensive 4070s, and this is I'm actually split on this. So when it comes down to it, if you just want a GPU for gaming, I would probably recommend getting a 6950 XT for $630. You can find them at that price. They have the Merc and the Red Devil for that price. You get better performance on multiple games. You get more VRAM. You do consume more power, but you could also undervolt them to 200 watts and probably get better results than this. But if you like NVIDIA and you do not want to switch to AMD, there's some people that don't like AMD and they have their reasons, and that is fine. And they're going to stick to NVIDIA. And I'm not saying they're NVIDIA fanboys, nothing like that. Whatever. You like NVIDIA, you want to stay with NVIDIA? At $600, this card's not too bad because that's how much the 3080 is. You're replacing it with the 3080, so pretty much just think of it as a 3080. So $600 for 3080 is a lot better than $600 for a 3070 Ti. They go for around that price. They go for around $670. I've seen them pretty high. So technically this is cheaper than a 3070 Ti and performs better. So why not? But again, that's only if you like NVIDIA and you want to stick with NVIDIA. If anything, the price should be lower, but that's up to NVIDIA to decide, not me. So yeah, that's my bit about it on price. And at the end of the day, this does perform better on like multimedia apps, rendering, stuff like that. So if you want it for that, that's another reason to hop on this instead of the AMD, the 6950 XT. You saw in the Blender benchmarks, it blew it away, the MSI combustor. So whatever reason you want, $600 is a lot. Hopefully it drops down in price. I don't see that anytime soon, but you never know. I hope I'm wrong. But anyways, I appreciate everyone for watching the video all the way to the end. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to watch more. I'm going to try to get my hands on a couple more 4070s. I don't know how soon, but eventually. And I do want to get the white version of this card. I want to see how it looks. So keep that in mind, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Thank you for watching another video from Top 3 Entertainment. I hope you hit like and subscribe. Also, I'm going to have a recommended playlist, a recommended video right here, so make sure to click that as well. I appreciate you guys tuning in, whether it be to the Top 3 Tech, Top 3 Gaming, or the Why Not Me podcast. You guys are dope. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And of course, let's grow this thing together. Peace. Peace. Peace.